Hi everybody, this is Mahala.
And Dave, we're back for another energy report. You'll find this report on Mahala's Astrology. It's mahalasastrology.com. And if you want to contact Mahala, it's planetalert@hotmail.com. And any of the things that we talk about in this report, I'll try to have a link at the bottom of the report, both on YouTube and on the website, so everybody can follow along as you're listening. I am caught up with doing the Edgar Casey past life recordings or reports, and so if anybody's interested in that, feel free to drop us a line, fill out the form on the website. It's real easy to find that on the front menu of the website. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me about it.
Okay, so I guess we'll start here with the March full moon, which is March 1st, 2018.
So this was last week, 7 days ago.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're still in the energy of it, and that was an extremely powerful full moon, and so we'll be feeling the energy of it for quite a while. And if you look at the chart, like I'm showing Dave the chart here, it shows like 5 planets in Pisces. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it's very an emotional sign. And that is like lots of people are experiencing their emotions in different ways right now, because it's like kind of finishing up the end of a cycle. Mm-hmm. And so along with that, Mars is conjunct the asteroid of great power, and it's making an exact trine to Uranus, which is conjunct Eris, and that is an extremely powerful aspect in the chart.
This is kind of interesting because this came up a week ago, and last Saturday I sat down with a bunch of empaths, a bunch of energy readers, and we have this group of people that we've filtered very well to know who's in harmony with the group and not. And somebody invited a friend that hadn't been screened with regards to sitting in with our meeting. Yeah. And so it was very interesting that what you pointed out here as being very emotional. There was this really strong energy that came in that all of us felt, and it triggered all the emotions, and we all sat back and thought about it afterwards, that, wow, what just happened?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with frequency, because everyone is on their own frequency, and they're different, and so if you have a frequency match, then everything goes really smoothly. But if someone comes in on a different frequency, everyone can feel the difference.
Wow,
because
totally magnified. It was really powerful.
Yes.
Everybody was really surprised because it was more powerful than other meetings that we've had. And so it just hit us out of the blue.
Yeah. Another thing, because on this, Mars was square Mercury, and that brings a lot of arguing and anger, and it also rules storms, and there have been a lot of really strong storms all over the world. And I know I saw this picture on the TV. It was of this huge wave coming in. I mean, it was really, really huge. That was with one of the storms back east. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that's really powerful energy that's bringing in that huge wave.
That's right. They've been talking about the nor'easters, eastern weather fronts coming in the East Coast. All the snow and the big waves.
Right. Yeah, it was very interesting to watch. It really brought home to me about the waves coming in. And so there are waves coming in the ocean and waves coming in from the heavens. Some big, big, big waves from the heavens. But there's still a lot of chaos going on. And that's because of the Uranus conjunct Eris. And then Mars is in Sagittarius. And Mars will be in Sagittarius until the new moon on March 17th. And then Mars will go into Capricorn, and that will stay there until May 15th. And along with Uranus, when it moves into Taurus, then there'll be a definite change of energy. And so, and then the Sun moves into Aries on March 20th, when we go into a fire sign. And so watch how the energy changes from Pisces, the emotional water wave energy of Pisces, and the fire energy of Aries.
Okay.
And
so this is happening right around the equinox.
Yes.
We get a couple of.
It does.
We've got the moon changing houses. We've got the sun changing houses. Anything else stand out at that point?
Well, it's the equinox,
The equinox.
I mean, equinox, that's when the sun always goes into Aries, is at the equinox. And the equinox is at a little different time each year, or on a day, but right now it's pretty close to on March 20th, at the same time the equinox comes in. Mm-hmm. And so that brings in you know, a lot of energy, because there's it used to be that the four equinoxes, or 2 equinoxes and 2 solstices, were the main holidays over the ancient time period. And they were set up for that because there's always energy that comes in from the galactic center in that particular time.
Okay.
And that's just the way astrology is set up. And then the March 20th, of course, is Aries, which is the astrological new year. And it always starts when it's in Aries, because Aries is like new beginnings. And
yeah, so the trees are budding out and flowers are coming along.
Right.
At least for us.
Right, yeah. And then we move into Taurus on April 20th, and then that's when all the flowers are in full bloom. And that's one of my most favorite times of year, is this month of May, because it is so beautiful here.
Yes.
All the rhodis are blooming, and April brings the tulips, or March and April bring the tulips. And then May brings the other rhodis and the beautiful flowers that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. And then, as Mars has been going through Gemini, it has been opposing President Trump's sun, and it's exact right now. I mean, as we speak, it's exact.
When you say sun, you don't mean son-in-law.
His Gemini sun. His Gemini sun.
Okay.
Because he has 3 planets in Gemini. And of course, the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. And so with Mars going through Sagittarius, it's opposing his Gemini planets. And that is a very hard time period when you have, you know, Mars opposing all your things, because Mars is the energy planet. And as there's been a lot going on, and like his cabinet has kind of been dissolving even more than it was before, because of the Pisces energy and that rules dissolving things. And then with his Mars energy, or the heavenly Mars energy opposing his sun, Gemini sun, it causes a lot of challenges in his life. And so I think behind the scenes, he's really pretty scared or angry, or things like that, you know, because I don't think he totally understands what all is happening to him right now because of the planetary energy.
Okay, so emotional energy working towards fire energy.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Mars is fire energy, so he has fire energy opposing him.
So you would expect the types of things that we would expect here would be quick decisions on things.
Right, and anger, lots of anger.
Well, so we could have already seen that with the Pisces in all of it.
Yeah.
And so do you see that it would still be emotional with the fire energy, or is the fire energy simply going to bring in transformations?
I think the fire energy will bring transformation, because we're in the time of fire right now.
Okay, so we should see things change. We see abrupt changes, like the flash of light, and all of a sudden we have ashes of some sort.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And how long would you say that's going to last?
Well, we're in the time of fire right now, and so that has been in effect for quite a while, and well, actually for quite a long time, because of all the war energy that's been on the Earth plane, you know, for such a long period of time. There's been just one war right after another.
Yep.
You know, it's just it just keeps going.
Yeah, I'd like to see that stop.
I would like to see it stop too. Yeah,
right.
And so actually, I think that Syria is the end of the war vibration, because of the time frame that we're in right now, and because Uranus is going into Taurus pretty soon. And so with the last 7 years, which has been very dominant, you know, with the war that started in they call it revolution in Tunisia in 2011, January 2011, then because it's been a Mars activation with Uranus and Aries. And so when Uranus goes into Taurus, then that Taurus is ruled by Venus.
Okay.
And so that's when we should start feeling a more peaceful vibration.
Okay, so rather than trying, so when I think back to 2011, I think about the Brotherhood movements that moved through north of Africa into the Middle East,
Yes.
Where people got together to riot.
Yes.
So do you think people are going to get together to hug now?
Well, that would be nice.
Wouldn't that be fun to see?
Right, yeah. And that was one of the ancient prophecies, you know, because that was the beginning of the Third World War, according to the prophecy that was started in North Africa. And it did. It started right there, you know. So people are still waiting for a war to happen, and the wars are over. We're moving into a different frequency. We're going into the frequency of love, of Venus. And so, it was really interesting for me to watch all the time that Uranus was in Aries, and all of the head things that went on, all of the energy that came in from the heavens would come down through the head, and man, all kinds of eye problems, ear problems,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff. And so when Uranus goes into Taurus, we should see a definite change in energy.
Okay, so Taurus is going to come up from the Earth. Might come the opposite direction?
So
what part of the bodies would Taurus rule then?
Oh, Taurus rules the throat.
Throat.
And so the speaking.
Okay.
And so, and the neck, Taurus and the neck. A lot of Taurus people have head neck challenges in their lifetime. And that's just what goes along with it.
Okay.
And so, and then the speaking, maybe the speaking will start to be softer instead of so rough and angry.
Oh, so communication can happen.
Yes.
Okay. And if we have patience, if people can be patient about their communication, we might be able to get somewhere with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then also, President Trump has, right now, it's exact, and it will be exact for the whole month of March, and that is Saturn in exact, by degree, opposition to his Mercury. And that is one of the harder aspects to have in your chart. And a lot of people will lose their job when they have that energy going in their chart, or they will get very depressed, or they could get sick. Or it's just like it's a negative energy. It's like a double whammy negative energy.
Okay.
And that will be an effect for him for the whole rest of this month of
And that's
March.
coming in with the fire energy and the transformation energy and
It should be interesting.
Okay.
You're right, yeah.
And so
yeah.
we're on March 8th today, so this means that we're 10 days away from seeing a peak of these energies as they transfer into the next phase.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And so I'd like to talk about like the book of Revelations right now.
We always like to talk about that.
Yes, because that's kind of been my specialty, because I've been making prophecies for years now.
Yep.
Because of the book. It's like a plan that was laid out, and the dark side has been following it, and the light side too, forever. And so, just for an example, like the 17th and 18th chapter of Revelation, it talks all about the fall of Babylon, and it talks about the woman of the city that rules the world. And so it started out with the Twin Towers being bombed. And I know, and I've been telling people for a long time that New York was going to be bombed, because that's what it says in the Revelation of that particular city. It's a city, that financial capital. And so that's what started the 17th and 18th chapter of Revelation. And so that, and then it went on into, the Iraq War, which is Babylon. And so that went on for years, And then we went into the 19th chapter. And the 19th chapter, at the bottom of that, it talks about the Great War that would happen. And that's the one that started in North Africa.
Okay.
And so that's finishing up right now in Syria. And so that should be the end of the Great Wars.
Well, keep our fingers crossed.
Right,
Hopefully
yeah. And then we move into the 20th chapter. And this is very interesting because we've been going through the 20th chapter. And the 20th chapter, it's kind of coded like a lot of people wouldn't understand it. Although it talks about, for me, because I've been watching the sequence of how it happens, when I looked at what it said, and I said, oh, this is a time period when all of the corruption comes out into the open.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can definitely tell in the last 2-3 years that all this corruption has been surfacing because the light has been shining on it. And that's the way it's meant to happen. And then at the very end of the 20th chapter, the last paragraph, it talks about how God will judge everyone. And we all know that God doesn't judge, we judge ourselves. And so we've been in a period of judging each other, judging a lot of the judging has been judging Trump and judging each other and judging ourselves. And that period has gone on for 2 or 3 years now, big time. And so we're right at the end of the 20th chapter. And so the beginning of the 21st chapter, it says, and then we'll experience the new heaven and the new earth. And then the whole 2 chapters of the 21st and the 22nd chapter talks about being on the new earth and what we will experience on there. And it'll be a wonderful experience. And And so I think we've reached that turning point, because like an equinox is always a turning point. And the energy starts, it's different, it's new energy. And so one of the things that's all over the net is that people are talking about the great light that will appear in March. And this seems to be a universal thing from all over the world. And so I would like to read this part, just a couple short paragraphs here about this. Romeo Barron wrote. And here's what he said about
So before you read it, so what I'll do is I'll take this information too, and I'll make sure it's on the website so people can read along with you.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah. And this is called the dimensional shift, the new Earth. We stand at the threshold of a great dawning. There will be a massive wave of cosmic golden light that will completely descend upon our Earth. And that golden light, I mean, that's from that planet that erupted. We talked about that last time.
Golden light.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the golden light will be coming in, along with all other colors, rising the vibrational frequency like no other. The light codes will shine down and interpenetrate the density of matter, making it translucent, less dense. We will experience a dynamic recalibration in the electromagnetic fields of the Earth's grid system on a global scale. This energetic event, wave pattern event, is what will trigger a radical shift in consciousness, activating our highest DNA potential, resurrecting the ability for full regeneration that is our natural state. The activation of a biocircularity system, new neural pathways, and the recalibration of our DNA will trigger new perceptions and new sensory impulses. As our Earth transforms from the inside out, which is a necessary purification, a great purge of all that is not in resonance with our ascending planet and all within us, the veil will be lifted and our new Earth will emerge. The formless will take form, the form that animates our divine blueprint, and will perceive the world with unimaginable beauty. Multidimensional reality and the interconnectedness of all things will be as clear as sunlight. Our majestic radiance of cosmic Christ light, expanded consciousness, will set the world alight in its magnificence. Our new Earth will be without fear, without war, without greed, in a safe custodianship of an awkward divine human species, manifesting peace, love, light, and celebration. And I've been waiting for this event for ages. Ages and ages.
So we got to talk about that for just a second.
Okay.
So let me grab a hold of this for a second. It's always interesting to me when I hear somebody's interpretation of, how they interpret what's coming our way. And I try not to, because there's a lot of scientists in me, I try not to get caught up in the Western scientific words that take away from the meaning of what's really coming through here. So activating DNA. So I don't really see it as activating the DNA, but it's simply we are conscious beings. And so when it comes through with this new light coming our way, or new energy coming our way, it could empower us, because if we're light beings and all of a sudden we get a whole bunch more light, what could we do? It could be really interesting to see what we do. Everybody knows that our neural pathways right now are pretty entrained into what we've been taught, what we've been doing. We do very little as a human. What if we just didn't have all the right frequencies to be able to really see what's going on, to be able to really experience it and feel it? We have senses. We feel. You can walk into the room, you can feel the energy of other people. What if all of a sudden we could feel the energy of the planet?
Right.
What if we could feel the energy of all the life forms around us? What if that's the type of energy that comes our way? That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it would.
It would break down walls like rocks aren't alive. It would break down walls like maybe there's time issues here, manifestation issues. There could be really cool things that happen.
Right.
So I'm excited for it too. I'm just here to experience it.
Yeah. Well, it seems like I've been waiting forever, and a lot of people I know have been waiting for this particular event to happen because of how it will change everyone. And like in the Bible, it says we go from mortal to immortal in the twinkling of an eye. And that's, of course, if you're on the frequency that you'd be able to do that, because it's all a matter of frequency, and everyone will experience this great light in the way that they feel it, and then how they understand it and the frequency that they're on. And
Yes.
those have been waiting for a long time. I think it will be a real breeze to go through it. But those are totally unaware and just wake up all of a sudden, that might be a little challenging.
Yeah, it could be if you, particularly if you're the type that focuses on hurting others, and all of a sudden, every time you have that thought, you get hurt right away. It might train you really fast.
That's right, to watch what you think and watch what you feel and
Yes,
stuff like
exactly.
that. Yeah. And then when I wrote my last article, I was talking about the Revelation thing and how we're at the end of the 20th chapter, ready to go into the 21st.
Yes.
And I got this email from one of the people who had read my email, and she said, several days ago on my way home from the store, I saw a cloud in the sky shaped like an angel standing on a rounded base, arms outstretched, in front of it heralding a huge horn. Not a trumpet, but a horn, like what they have been used in ancient times. And so I looked up, I thought, well, I know that they have a horn that the Jewish people, Jewish faith, they always blow their horn.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a Sulfur, S-O-F, Sulfur, S-O-F-A-R, I think is how it's spelled. And so I went on the internet and I researched all the information about it. And I found out that the Jewish horn, it is called shofar, S-H-O-F-A-R. And that the shofar was blown on each holiday, especially on Rosh Hashanah, which is a September holiday. But it's also blown on the new moon each month. And Jesus had described a coming judgment that will be announced by the shofar, which is someplace I found that. That's in Matthew 24th to the 31st verse of Matthew, 24th chapter, and the 31st verse, or 24th to 31st verse, that is. Okay, so here she saw this shofar in the sky, getting ready to blow.
Okay.
And so I found out, okay, well, there's different things. The first holiday that's coming up here in March, well, first is the spring solstice, and then the second one is Good Friday. And the shofar, when Jesus was crucified, the shofar was sounded at that particular time. I thought, I wonder if that's anything that's connected with our Easter, like on Passover when he's on the cross and stuff like that, which is a possibility. I mean, I don't know the timing or anything, but I know that everyone across the world is saying that's going to happen in March.
Yeah, so to me it's interesting too to see how information comes to you. It's like when the information needs to come around, it piques your curiosity, somebody sends you something out of the blue, that's always interesting.
It is, yeah. Oh, I did a lot of research on that. It took me a couple hours to get all the information that was about the festivals and the holidays and stuff like that. And I thought it was really interesting. I thought, oh, wow, here we have Easter coming up in March, and also the new moon on the 17th, and then the equinox, and then Easter. And Passover. Passover starts at the same time as Easter does. The first day of Passover is March 31st. Okay. And then it starts on the night of the 30th. And so that goes along. They're exactly together this year. That doesn't always happen. And so with the Jewish festival, Passover, and they blow that horn, and then we have the Easter one here, there might be some connection with it. Only time will tell.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to wait and see. And another interesting thing that I had researched off the internet, I know that the people have been hearing trumpets all over the world for several years, the sound of the trumpet.
Okay.
And this man wrote an article about it, and he just wrote about when it started in 2012, the first people, but it actually happened before that, because I remember that a friend of mine was here visiting in 2010, and the trumpets had already been started to happen then, because we were talking about it.
Okay.
And trying to decipher, well, what are these trumpets that everyone's hearing? What's going on?
Okay, so what about the loud booms that people are hearing all over the world?
That's in this article too. It's the same thing, And I myself felt two loud booms, explosions that shook my house on the night of September 2nd of 2012. And I don't know exactly what those booms are happening. It could have been the war that was going on in space at that particular time. although there was another boom that was just heard here last night. And so I know, and then because I had seen videos, or heard videos and stuff on the internet, about the war in space going on. That went on for a long time. Like it talked in the 12th chapter of Revelation how the war happened. Archangel and Michael and the others, the dark ships all fought, and then the dark ones were all thrown down to Earth. Mm-hmm. And then the war came to Earth. And I was told that the war on the higher level, the war in the astro would kind of tune into would feel it on the Earth too. And so I think because we've been in this war vibration for such a long period of time, I think that has to do about it. But then when we were talking about in 2010, a friend and I, we decided that it was the trumpets blowing for revelations.
Okay.
And so every time an event would happen, a trumpet would blow, and then people would hear it somewhere in the world.
Yep. Probably
where that event would be.
Okay.
And so that was really interesting, I thought. And it says, strange trumpets is the world being warned. And it says, among the many strange phenomena we're watching, a new development has emerged. There is a mystery afoot. For nearly a decade now, all over the world, people have begun to hear strange sounds, bone-chilling, unexplainable, echoing, resonating, crashing, metallic clamoring racket. But it is most intriguing that many of them sound like a trumpet, or a chorus of trumpets. The phenomena has been forced many to think again about the coming apocalypse. And all over the world, people are experiencing strange, discordant music and noise from the earth and the firmament above. Sometimes it comes from the sky, as droning trumpets that sound notes in the lower to middle registers, but are nevertheless musical in nature. Lately, high-pitched trumpets are emerging. And then the article goes on. It's about 10 pages long, and I'm not going to read all that, but
But we can link it in.
Yeah, we can link it in when it comes in. And then there's been this one woman who is a hypnotherapist, and she's made several videos, very, very interesting, about people that she has regressed, and then she's brought in their higher self.
Yes, this is the one you forwarded to me just yesterday.
Yes.
Yes.
It's very, very interesting, and they're all saying the same thing, that this event is going to happen where the heavens light up with this great light. And it's I don't know exactly how it will manifest, or anything like that, but it's definitely going to change the consciousness of Earth and pull us into the higher frequency.
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting, too, to hear how she talks about it.
Oh, yes, you have to watch her videos.
Yes,
They're so interesting.
It's definitely worth listening to. It's definitely worth watching. She approaches it with a lot of humor, a lot of excitement, a lot of passion, and from a pseudo-scientific point of view, she has done this research probably for the last year. After seeing this video that I'm going to post up, I watched a couple of other videos too, where she was looking at this a year ago and talking about it being a year away. And then, ultimately when it comes down to it, she has compiled together a whole bunch of notes from different people that she has had under hypnotherapy that have talked about things that are, independently of the other people. So it's coming through at a subconscious level. And it's interesting to see how she approaches asking her questions. But still, it's this cool event, and we can already sense this. Everybody listening to this is already going to have experiences that they've gone through over the last couple of weeks where they've been able to experience heightened emotions or heightened sense of awareness or a heightened sense of something. And so if it's on our doorstep.
Right, it is,
wow.
Yeah. And then there's another video that I didn't send you. I should have sent you that one too. It's about this woman who lost her son, I think when he's about 25 or 26. And this wasn't that long ago. And so I think it was last year on Valentine's Day, he appeared to her. This was like in 2017, I think it was, if I remember right. And then he started giving her messages. And it was really interesting, the messages, and that's really interesting because she's a real happy person, and really excited about what's coming.
Okay.
And so he was talking about, and she was asking him what he was doing on that side, and he said that he was making healing domes. He was a carpenter on this side of life, and then he became a carpenter on a different type of a carpenter on the other side. And he says that they were building all these healing domes, that when people come to the new earth, they'll be able to go into these healing domes, and they will be immediately healed and adjusted to the new frequency. And so, and then before that he had said, okay, Mom, I gotta go. And she says, well, why do you have to go? And he says, well, I'm being called. I've got to go finish the domes. And so later, when he came in another time, then he talked about, okay, Mom, the domes are all done now. They're all ready. And then at the very ending of the video, with this last message is, the cosmic event is here now.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time.
Yes, and so that's the time issue is always a really weird thing, because when you think about the what is it? It's the interactions that we just naturally have, that we perceive time as we move, as we do things, as we speak. It takes time to say a few words. Well, when people channel spirit of some sort, or channel consciousness, it doesn't really seem to have a sense of time. And so it would be interesting. I'm looking forward to that other video to go see how that spirit was able to relate time.
Well, he said that he couldn't relate time, and yet
he could say they're all done.
Yes.
Yes. So he was building them. Now they're done. There's times elapsed. Was it instantaneous?
Yeah. Yeah, because he said there's no time on our side.
Yeah. And
so you can't really move time, but you can go by events, to get the general gist of when it's coming about. But it just brought back to my mind, I was in this circle of beings. It was like regular human beings, and then there was this medium that was channeling. And I asked the question, well, when will the change happen? And I had totally forgotten about this. And he just sang the song, When the Soldiers Come Marching In.
Okay.
And I got, oh, March. He's talking about March. That was many years ago. And that just came to me right now, so I thought I'd share that. That's kind of funny.
Okay, so we all got to keep our eyes open for March.
Yes, yeah.
We got a few more weeks left.
Right, yeah. And then we have April, too. And there's a couple other things that I was investigating here. And this is the story of Easter, or the Easter egg.
Oh.
And so what it says in this, it's just a little article here, and it said that according to tradition, after Jesus' ascension into heaven, the Magdalene, wealthy woman of some importance, boldly presented herself to the Emperor Caesar in Rome to proclaim the resurrection of Jesus Christ with an egg in hand to illustrate her message. Holding the egg out to him, she exclaimed for the first time what is now considered universal Easter proclamation among Christians: Christ is risen. The emperor, mocking her, said that Jesus had no more risen than the egg in her hand was red. Immediately the egg turned red as a sign from God to illustrate the truth of her message. The emperor then headed her complaints about Pilate condemning an innocent man to death, and had Pilate removed him from Jerusalem under imperial displeasure. And so that's kind of like one of the stories. I know there's other stories about the Easter egg, the egg and the symbology of it. An egg is like the beginning, like the earth was an egg and then creation came out of the egg and that. But I thought that was kind of interesting that this one tradition is there, along with the tradition of the egg at Easter time, because it's the risen Christ, or the new beginning.
Okay.
And another thing that this energy that's coming in, it's Christ conscious energy.
Okay.
And so people like they're waiting for a Christ to come or something. It's actually an energy that will affect everyone. It's Christ conscious energy. And we'll see the white light along with that, because the Christ conscious energy, my understanding, is the pure white light, the pure white crystal. And the crystal is a manifested form of the white Christ light. And it has all of the colors in it. Okay. And so I'm sure we will see white in the sky as this happens too, along with the golden light and the purple light and the whole rainbow of colors. And another thing that I was researching, because like Allison, who writes an article for my blog about the goddess energy, the asteroids, and I find her information very interesting. And so she had written, well, not, she didn't write an article, but she talked about this asteroid that was discovered in 2007, and it's called white snow.
White snow.
White snow, yeah. And then it was interesting because, like, one of the things I got for Christmas, this was around Christmas time, was an essence called snow. And so I thought, wow, this is interesting. I guess I'm supposed to pay attention to this asteroid. And so when I was researching on the net the other day, I just researched it. And what it says about white snow, it's a binary trans-Neptunian object orbiting the sun in the scattered disk approximately 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles in diameter. It is the fourth largest. Well, now it's said that it's the third largest because only Pluto and Eris are larger. And so that, and then they named it, the person who discovered it named it Snow White because the picture of it right here is all white. And it's also interesting because the red, now it appears on the screen as red. And after he had discovered this asteroid, it started getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then I was relating that to, because they call this they say this is Mary Magdalene's asteroid, and then she has a red egg here that I just talked about, and then they're talking about this planet going from white to red. Well, the symbology behind it is that this asteroid is like Snow White and the seven dwarfs.
Okay.
And so that's what that child's story that's been around for so long has been actually based on something that is in our heavens. And so Snow White is the kind of like the leader with the seven dwarfs around her.
Okay.
And so the seven dwarfs are the seven dwarf planets that have been discovered. And I find that just so interesting. And it says here, the naming of it. Brown is the astronomer that discovered it. And it says Brown nicknamed the object Snow White for its presumed white color, because it would have to be very large or very bright to be detected by their survey. By that time, Brown's team had already discovered seven dwarfs. In 2000, Quasar in 2002, Sedna in 2003, Hame, Celica, Oris in 2004, Makemake and Eris in 2005. And however, in 2007, which is the Snow White, turned out to be one of the reddest objects in the Kuiper belt compared only to Quasar, so the nickname was dropped.
That's kind of funny. So they've discovered seven dwarfs, and this is one of them.
Right, yeah.
So what I find interesting, too, is that as we are evolving in our consciousness, we're finding more and more influences out in space. So is it that we had this Snow White story from forever, and now it's manifesting, or is it that it's been there forever and now we're finally coming up to the vibration of that, and so we're going to start getting influences from those dwarf planets?
Right. Of the Snow White and the red
Yes.
fire.
Yes. And so
Red
it'll be
egg.
interesting to see how that starts to have astrological influences on people, on the consciousness here.
Right, like the Christ consciousness, it's coming in our awareness now. And it came into my awareness in December.
Okay.
And there's a very interesting article on, well, I tried to print it out about Snow White, but I couldn't. It was a 3-part series, and maybe I can get Dave to help me figure out
We'll find it. And
how
post
to
it.
print it out so I can have the whole article.
Yes.
But it's really interesting, and it's so interesting, because like people don't know that there's so many dwarf planets out there too. Like Pluto. Well, they had demoted Pluto to a dwarf planet. And then I had heard just recently that Pluto was made a regular planet again, unless that was a...
To me, that's just silly. When you think about it from astrology, you think about Pluto has influences.
Oh, does it ever have Pluto?
So the scientists come along and say, no, it's not important. Whereas anybody that does astrology knows absolutely that it has an influence. And so you just don't demote it. It's part of who we are.
Right. Pluto and Uranus have been the most dominant planets in at least the last 7 years, because Pluto rules transformation. Pluto is in Capricorn. Let's see, when did it go in Capricorn? It went in there quite a while ago. And Capricorn rules governments. Look at all the governments that have fallen since Pluto went into Capricorn. And it also rules structures and all of the earth changes where all the houses and buildings and everything was demolished. That's a manifestation of Pluto energy. Mm-hmm. And if that is not, it's just, I mean, you just have to look at it. If that's not powerful, I don't know what is powerful.
Yeah, so these little planets that come along like a Snow White, it's going to be really interesting when we start to figure out what is its influence.
Right, yes.
So I'm excited for that. It'll be cool to find out.
Right, yeah. And then Uranus being in Aries, and then along comes Eris, discovered in 2005.
Okay.
But it didn't get close enough to Uranus until 2 years ago, when it became conjunct with Uranus. And look at what has happened in the last 2 years. Look at all the light that come in. Uranus is the planet of light.
Of things.
Yes, and it rules the change, and it rules fast action, and literally it rules light. And look at all the light that has come down from heaven in the last couple of years, and how many people have seen bolts of light coming down, and our electrical system. Uranus rules electricity. It rules high technology, new technology. And all of that has been very, very dominant. And then with when Saturn was in Sagittarius, which has just moved into Capricorn since December, when it was in Sagittarius, there was a perfect trine in the sky from Saturn lined up with the galactic center in Sagittarius, and an exact trine to Uranus conjunct Eris in Aries, in the sign of fire and light. And so that planet will still be dominant like this month in the full moon, because we talked about the full moon of March and how powerful it will be, and how at the full moon on March 1st, Mars was conjunct Uranus and Eris. And right now it's exactly conjuncted. And so all of that energy for change is in the heavens right now.
Okay.
And will continue being there. So I'm really excited to see how all of this will turn out.
Yep. I agree. Lots of change coming our way. And for me, I look at it from a human point of view. I look at it as, how are we going to see the change? Are humans going to change? How does this really affect us? What are we going to feel? What are we going to experience? That's what's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. With Uranus in Aries, like it's been for the last 7 years, the energy has come in the head, and it's been transforming our body for 7 years. This is not a one-time event. We had to build up to it. Yep. And so for the last 7 years, we've been transforming in our body, and we've been letting go of all of the fear that we've had and all of the dark energy, so that the light can manifest.
Yes.
And so we're at the end of that journey, because Uranus goes into Taurus in May. So we're right at the transition point, and things can happen like a little beforehand, and for a long time I've been thinking, okay, between March and May, we're in a real period of time of lots and lots of changes. And a lot of the planets are more powerful as they're at the end of their sign. Like when Uranus gets up to 29 Aries, which will be next month, then the real potency of the fire energy will be felt.
Okay. So as the planets come to the end of the house, end of the cycle, we probably wrap up this video too.
Right, yeah. Okay, I want to say one more thing. There's a new invention, I mentioned it on my last article, about the light bulbs.
Oh yeah, those light bulbs.
Yes, and so I ordered some, and it took a long time to get to me because they were on back order. And so they're amazing. I've just had them for 2 days, and I can feel the effect of it. It's a regular light bulb that has a coating on it that will kill several different germs. It will take out smells, it will take out poisoning, it'll take out formaldehyde, and all you have to do is put them in, plug them into your light switches, and I have them placed all over my house right now, and I can feel that the energy has changed already, and it's only been 2 days.
Yes, the light has already changed in your house.
That's right. It has, yeah. And so Dave can put the link to that, the light bulbs too. So if anyone is interested in trying the light bulbs, they have a special on for this month till the end of March, I think it is, where they get 12 bulbs for $144
Okay.
plus tax.
Yep.
And they're normally like 2 bulbs for $50. And if you want to put them all over your house, they act like an not an air conditioner, air purifier in your whole house. You know, if you have enough bulbs in there.
Good.
And I can feel the difference from the energy of the light bulbs.
Good.
And when I signed up to get them, Uranus, the planet of light, was exactly on my ascendant.
Yep.
I thought, wow.
And what's cool about this too is that these lights are a white light versus the regular lights, which are a yellow light.
Yes, and they are bright.
Yeah.
They're really bright.
They feel bright.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And I already feel a difference. My sinuses are much better. I've always had a sinus challenge for a long time. And I worked out in the yard 2 days ago, and I came in, and this is just right after when the time I got the light bulbs. And I didn't have any effects from it. And this is allergy season for me. And
Mhm.
I was amazed.
Yeah. That's good news. Good
Yeah.
news. Changes,
So-
good changes.
Yes, lots of good changes. And so anyways, I guess that's about
About it?
all that's about it for
That's
today,
fine.
I think.
Yes, so I'm glad you all stuck with us. You'll find us on YouTube. Tell a friend. Anyway, if you have any questions, you want any deeper reports on any of this stuff, feel free to comment about it, and maybe we'll get into it on the next report, which will probably be a couple weeks from now.
Yeah. And check our website, www.mahalasastrology.com.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.